The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, the fifth and likely final entry of the primary 3D pentalogy, following Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess. Before the franchise ditched the age-old formula in favor of the freedom Breath of the Wild offered, let's have one more traditional epic for Nintendo's last pre-HD console for the 25th anniversary. When I first played this in November of 2011, I loved it. The characters, the colorful world, and the sensation of adventure.
How did I live?
But do I still love it? After 10 years, you become wiser. You can enjoy a game as a kid and dig deeper into it as an adult to realize why it's so good. And vice versa, you grew up to notice the flaws that hold some back. Let's make something clear first. I'm not talking about the gameplay in itself. This isn't a review. Characters in Depth isn't a review channel. We look into the most human and relatable aspect of a game, a movie, a show, any form of media. The story and characters. There's been this self-defeating argument that story isn't important, only gameplay matters. We shouldn't care about the characters. Let me play the game, damn it! I'm not saying games should be a series of cutscenes and nothing else. What I am saying is that stories in games are important. Without an engaging story, Metal Gear Solid wouldn't have had enough substance. The character interactions and dramatic backstory in Star Fox 64 made the journey so much meatier than its Super Nintendo predecessor. My favorite games blend the story and gameplay together smoothly. They work with each other and make the overall game feel complete. And Skyward Sword's story is one we are studying today. Does it succeed or fail? Now let's dive in and see if Skyward Sword's story holds up. Long ago, the world was plagued by demons who rose out of the cracks of the earth. They sought the almighty power of the Triforce. Not too different from the countless greedy barbarians and backstories of other games. The goddess Hylia, with her sword and harp, protected the various species across the world, which we meet later. Good foreshadowing with the ink silhouettes. Hylia put all the surviving humans on a cutout piece of the earth and flung it up to the sky, Angel Island style. Without worrying about the humans, she and the multiple species sealed the demons. As an intro, it's not bad. We buy the dread, and the horror of the demons makes the visuals all the more hellish, complementing the radiance of Hylia. And am I the only one who's reminded of the game over screen from Zelda 2 here? The story truly begins millennia later, on the floating island of Skyloft, where just about everyone has a rideable bird called a Loftwing. Our hero Link dreams of what's to come soon. There's this recurring element of Link waking up before the adventure begins, but it's how he wakes up that makes this one unique. Whatever you have against this game, you can't deny that it has a sense of humor. It might be the funniest Zelda game. So Zelda's Loftwing sends him a letter telling him to get his lazy ass to the statue of the goddess before the wing ceremony. And here is where you can interact with the students and instructors of the Knight Academy, like the diligent Pippet, the currently whippy Fledge, and Owlin, the white-haired Saïx. This is the most high school the franchise ever gets. I like Skyloft and its denizens. They have loads of charm, and their designs are so imaginative. There's a list of side quests dedicating to helping out those on the island and the nearby Lumpy Pumpkin pub. You can clean a neighbor's house, return a rattle to a crying baby, and help make Fledge a total beefcake. Doing so will make the fiendish-looking softy Batro human. The bazaar houses the inventor Gondo, who can upgrade your gear and fix up the pushy robot Scrapper. The hyper salesman Rupin, who's set to blow up any second. The fortune teller Spara, oh great fairy fountain, his eyes are beautiful. The cynical item check girl Petrus. There's a side quest where you can lead her on thinking Link is in love with her. If you want to, Link can be a manipulative prick to her. Nah, Zelda's just a friend. I want to be with you, Petrus. And about Zelda, we meet up with her before the statue of the goddess playing her harp. This take on Zelda is a fan favorite. She's so lovable and sweet, expressing concern for Link, standing up to bullies, and there's a lot of spunk to her. Even when she pushes Link off a platform, you can't help but smile. I still love you! Like in Minish Cap, Link and Zelda are childhood friends, but in this case, Zelda isn't a princess, or any type of royalty. She's just a girl. Their friendship is endearing, and when she's inevitably abducted, come on, you know the rules, the situation is more dire than usual. It's more than I can say about Link's connection to his Loftwing. We're told that he and his Loftwing have a special bond, but we never see it aside from him petting him that one time. His bond with his Loftwing is the same I have with my car. It's a mode of transportation, nothing more. He doesn't even have a name. None of them do. You could name your horse in Twilight Princess, why couldn't you do that here? His Loftwing is used in only one boss battle. There could have been more. Link and Zelda's friendship is believable because it's supported on screen. More on this later. Link himself. Being a mute avatar for the player, all Links unfortunately have a knack of being interchangeable. Unless you read the manga. Read the manga. It's really good. Skyward Sword does what it can to make this Link stand out. The optional dialogue contributes greatly. Take this moment where he confronts the local bully Groose. Do you act like a helpless little boy and say, "Give him back!" A reckless kid and challenge him by saying, "Bring it on!" Or do you reply with a snarky quip like your 87 Raphael with, "Nice hair." "Oh, you lay off my dude right now or I'll flatten you. Everyone knows I've got the slickest pompadour in town." These characters. Groose is another one to bring up, the Pete and Bluto-esque brute who messes with Link but has the hots for Zelda. We'll get back to him for sure. Link is the chosen one of the goddess, and when I read this, I groaned. I'm not a fan of the chosen one trope for being packed with cliches like everyone sucking up to their protagonist who hasn't done anything yet, and the hero who's suddenly afraid to save the world. I don't want to be a hero, I want to be a normal kid, I'm scared. But in this game, Link is like that only if you want him to be. Upon the call to action, an optional line of dialogue is, "It's so much." Are you going to be nervous or straighten your spine and say, "Okay"? Doing so will garner praise from Zelda's father, Gebera. This is one of the more fleshed out versions of Link. He has the bravery and good heart to earn his hero status, and certain dialogue can make him more relatable and likable than previous incarnations, along with appropriate body language. When Zelda's rescuer scolds him for not being there for her in time, he feels guilty. This makes him more of a character than a blank avatar, and when he defends Zelda and her rescuer afterwards, he can respond with, "Am I late?" It's the dialogue that granted him more significance. Okay, time for the wing ceremony. Link, Groose, and his two lackeys compete against each other.
Move aside!
Link wins, and he participates in the following ritual with Zelda where he gets her sailcloth. After the ceremony, the two fly with their Loftwings. It's nice, they're having a good time. It's just Link, Zelda, and that ominous tornado. Wait a second. Zelda is swept up in the storm. Link tries to save her, but the force of nature is too much for him. With Link alone, he hears a strange voice. The science spirit from his dreams appears before him and leads him to the statue of the goddess. The calming music and nocturnal atmosphere paints the spirit as a gentle soul that's here for us. Inside the statue, the spirit pops out of the sacred sword and introduces herself as Fi. Fi is the most hated of Link's sidekicks for telling you everything. On this channel, we occasionally defend characters who get that kind of shabby treatment. After my 2021 playthrough, I can safely say that I don't like Fi. I'm sorry, I tried, but she never won me over. She's definitely the most robotic sidekick. The way she speaks is so technical and inorganic. According to your social customs, I should provide you with my personal designation. Fi is the name I was given. When she tells Link drawing the goddess sword will bring him closer to finding Zelda, he rushes to the thing and Fi remarks, "It seems that further persuasive measures will not be required." I thought the game was setting a Terminator 2 style friendship. The hollow machine learns what it means to be human, that sort of thing. But she never gets past this phase. Fi's disposition stays robotic. Link never teaches her to mellow out and talk like a normal person. Their friendship never blossoms. I don't buy them as friends. The whole time, Fi calls him Master. You'd think he would say to her, "Quit that, just call me Link." But he doesn't. Fi is subservient to him like she's a smartphone with every notification activated. This should have been more like the friendship with Sonic and Shara in Sonic and the Secret Rings. Shara started out soft-spoken and called Sonic her master, and he told her to knock it off.
All right, let's go. Take me to this world of the Arabian Nights.
As you wish, Master.
Quit it, will you? My name's Sonic. Sonic the Hedgehog.
Very well then, Sonic.
We see them chat, and it's easy to accept that they're friends. Not the case here. Link and Fi aren't friends. This could have been so emotional, but the story never had any interest in that. Fi had so much potential. That poster back in 2009 built her up to make us think she'd be a bigger deal than in the final product. For one of the funniest Zelda games, Fi is way too dry and stale. What made Midna remarkable is that she changed. She was cold and apathetic to everyone in the world of light at first, but after traveling with Link and witnessing how selfless Zelda was, she became a caring person in the end. Fi never changes. She's hollow, and it's really disappointing. So Fi hands Link the Emerald Tablet that will pinpoint him to where he needs to go on the surface. Link dresses in his green tunic for the first time. This has got to be the best suiting up scene in Zelda. The triumphant music, the camera angles showing us bits of him in the outfit before the camera pans up. It wants this to be grand. Alright, Link is ready for the adventure of a lifetime. He hops into his flying car and dives into the surface for the first time ever. An elderly sage in a red hood informs Link that Zelda ran into Farron Woods, where Link rescues the cuddly critters called the Kiwi. Aww, I want one. Deeper in the forest, Link enters Skyview Temple, the first dungeon. At the end, he meets... Girahim. One of the best and most enjoyable Zelda villains. He has this reserved but sadistic persona to him. Every encounter with him is chilling. He'll have fun with you, and chances are you're in for the fight of your life. The battle starts with him unarmed. If you strike him, he'll catch the blade. This tells us he's a more intelligent and experienced swordsman, overwhelming the novice Link. What else makes him a great villain is that he provokes Link to be more of a hero. He confesses that he made the tornado that abducted Zelda, and that gets a reaction from Link, drawing his sword. In their first two encounters, Girahim doesn't call Link by name. It isn't until Link really pisses him off where he oddly earns Girahim's respect. In addition, he's the funniest character in the game. In truth, I very much prefer to be indulged with my full title, Lord Girahim. But I'm not fussy. Girahim is the ringleader behind the uprising of monsters and responsible for all the chaos plaguing the surface. More on this later. After Girahim splits, Link achieves another tablet that opens the pathway to Elden Volcano. Every game in the Pentalogy has this kind of formula. Act 1, you start out in a temporarily inescapable village before entering the world map to collect 2 or 3 MacGuffins. Act 2, after the halfway point where you get a vital tool, usually the Master Sword, you collect more MacGuffins and take on the final boss. In Act 1 of Skyward Sword, you go through Farron Woods, Elden Volcano, and Lanayru Desert to gather more tablets to find Zelda. In Act 2, you go back to these areas to unlock the Sacred Flames to transform the Goddess Sword into the Master Sword. This game has an Act 3. You go back to the same 3 areas to hear pieces of the Song of the Hero from the Dragons. This feels longer than it should be. I think now's a good time to bring up Skyward Sword's biggest flaw. If there's one word to sum it up, it's pacing. There's always something keeping you from accessing the next dungeon right away. Each game in the Pentalogy has done this, but Skyward Sword executes this the worst way. In the other games, there is an event that you need to go through before getting into the following dungeon, but these events feel like a natural part of the story and strengthens Link's connections to other people. Before the Stone Tower Temple, you play the Song of Healing to lift the curse on a man and he hugs his daughter afterwards. Before the Earth Temple, you perform a duet with Medley, which results in her awakening. Before the Goron Mines, you rescue the young Colin from King Bulbin, who invaded Orden Village earlier and was the main reason why the kids are in Kakariko Village in the first place. These events involve other characters and can further the plot. In Skyward Sword, between each dungeon, you have to do mundane tasks that don't advance the story, concern other people, or help Link grow as a character. For every temple in Act 1, you are required to use dowsing to locate 5 things. The first type isn't so bad since you're looking for the terrified Kikwi and let them know they're safe, but the other 2, you have to find pieces of a key to get into the Earth Temple, and 5 terminals to access the mining facility. These are lazy. It's worse in the case of the last dungeon since Girahim breaks through the wall that was barricading Link. You had to go through the mining facility because of this wall. If Link waited an hour and hid from Girahim, the pathway would have been opened and he would sneak in. He didn't have to do this dungeon, but dowsing has got nothing. Nothing on the Silent Realm challenges. I hate these. You're thrown into sections where you have to collect a bunch of tears in a time limit to get an item. There are guardians that can kill you in one hit, and if you lose, you have to start all over, and each time you do, Fi will lecture you with knowledge you're already aware of. I know this involves gameplay, but this is gameplay that interconnects with the story and affects the pacing. You have to do these. These are here just to stretch the game out, and the platitude in them. The first 2 claim to test your courage and wisdom. Okay, it's scary, you need to be clever on how to get them all in time, that makes sense. But then you get to the Elden one that supposedly tests your power. How? It's exactly the same as the other two. If you were able to destroy the Guardians, that would have been some awesome payoff. This game can be really dickish about padding itself out. You can't teleport like in the other game, so you have to manually fly from one place to another in the world map. While searching for the sand ship later in the story, you go through a mini dungeon and fight the Scorpion Moldarok a second time. Nothing's accomplished here. It was a waste of time. Oh, and let's not forget an escort mission so you can do the Fire Sanctuary. The water dragon Farron lives to get on your nerves. She's ill in your first meeting with her, and she asks you to get her sacred water from the first temple, which means you have to solve new puzzles in it and fight 3 Salphos. In the third act, she floods the woods and tests you to see if you're a capable hero by fetching her tadpoles. After doing so, then she'll sing her part of the Song of the Hero. Farron, I have the Master Sword. The Triforce is on my hand. I've been told I was the chosen one 100 times. Sing the song already!
Sing the fucking song!
No, this is the true quality of a hero. Be a really good swimmer. Well then, these guys are heroes too. The Fire Dragon Eldon accidentally erupts and causes you to lose your weapons and items, so you go through a stealth mission naked. Remember my video about why Sonic's individual campaign in Sonic 06 didn't work? I went over why the pacing was so bad. In between almost every stage, you are required to do tedious missions that don't impact the overall story. Jump through hoops, guess who the real captain is, destroy all robots. Skyward Sword's story has the same problem. It's not long, it's artificially long. After 20 or so hours, I was saying to myself, I have other stuff to do. I'm sick of modern games buying into this myth that every major title needs to be long. If the story works better by being shorter than others, then let it be shorter. Skyward Sword's story doesn't have that much going on, so the gameplay surrounding it drags out. Even if a game has a good story, bad pacing can bog it down. A game's story doesn't have to be hours and hours long to be credible. So after the mining facility, Zelda hands Link her harp, and with her bodyguard, who turns out to be Impa, they use the Gate of Time to go back 100 years, escaping Girahim. Impa directed Link to see the old sage in the sealed grounds, and nothing could have prepared me for this. Beautiful. Oh, and Link's face here.
Oh, sugar honey iced tea.
On the surface, Groose freaks out over how different the world below is, and asks Link a ton of questions. Link alleviates his paranoia by patting him on the arm and letting him know that everything's gonna be alright. I like this moment for painting Groose as more than a typical bully, and showing us how much of a good guy Link is. Groose has been giving him a hard time for years, and Link is nice to him. In the sealed grounds, the entity of evil that's been haunting Link breaks free from his seal. The Imprisoned. Told to be a beast of unfathomable malice, the monster attempts to walk to the top of the grounds, and Link must hammer the spike deep into his head before it's too late. The Imprisoned inching his way to the top brings a lot of panic. My heart was racing when he got close to the top. You fight him 3 times in this form, and in each battle, he evolves. Growing arms to climb up the walls, a tail to defend his weak spots, and a devilish halo that allows him to fly. The duration of the seal is shorter every time. I'm afraid to think what a 4th battle would have been like. After Link seals the demon for the first time, he earned Groose's respect. Groose goes through a transformation himself, starting out as a petty and dim-witted bully, but after realizing how much bigger and serious the whole situation is, he becomes humble, friendly, and proves to be intelligent. He built a railroad circling the sealed grounds and invented the catapult. No, the Groosinator. The sage tells Link that the second Gate of Time can be opened after empowering the Goddess Sword with the 3 sacred flames. Each time he achieves a flame, a piece of the Triforce glows on his hand. After the Goddess Sword becomes the Master Sword, Link goes back in time and is finally reunited with Zelda, and she has a lot to tell him. She explains the same backstory in the opening. Some bonus details are that the goddess Hylia was gravely injured while sealing the Demon King Demise. She gave up being a goddess and reincarnated herself as a human girl. Zelda. Now that she's immortal, she can use the Triforce, which the gods can never do, but Demise can, and the seal on him is weakening. Link needs to find the Triforce and destroy Demise before he regains his full power, and returns to his original form. Zelda stays in the past to keep the seal on Demise. Breath of the Wild so took notes from this. Even though she's embracing her old life, she's still the same Zelda who stole our hearts at the beginning of the game. She apologized to Link for getting him thrown into all this. Their tearful goodbye before Zelda goes into suspended animation really brings a lot out of Link. Oh, what should I say? Up next is the Triforce. Clues in Skyloft point him to the sky spirit Levius, who's been corrupted by a parasite. After freeing him, he informs you that the Triforce is in Skyloft, and the Song of the Hero will give him access. The 3 sacred dragons know a piece of the song, and so does he. Oh, and I highly recommend doing Farron, then Eldin, then Lineru. Doing Lineru first has caused a glitch that made players start all over. While we're on the subject, this may be the worst act in the story. Farron floods the woods, and she has the audacity to make you work for the song. It wasn't enough that Link healed her with water from the first dungeon. No, he has to swim for tadpoles. Farron is unlikable. I assume we're supposed to feel a connection with her since she's the only dragon we see long before the others, but she came across as a brat. I already mentioned the stupid as hell stealth mission before seeing Eldin. The final act of a game is where you should be the most motivated. I want to go back to the old areas with the best gear and all these fantastic abilities I learned along the way. These 2 missions feel like chores. Your gear and abilities are either limited or taken from you, and it's all for padding. The Thunder Dragon Lineru is alright in my book. He was sick too, but unlike Farron, he cut to the chase and sang his part of the song as soon as he felt better. And if you complete an optional challenge, he'll reward you with the Hylian Shield. Lineru is the best dragon, no one can say otherwise. I love when the dragons and Levius sing their parts of the song to Link. He's taking a moment to appreciate their godlike singing voices, a subtle bit that adds more personality to him. After learning the entire song, all 3 dragons sing for him. The Song of the Hero is a slow cover of the main theme from the original game. It's an anniversary title, so treat it with gusto. So, what do you do with the Song of the Hero? You play it using Zelda's harp in Skyloft, step into a portal, and you do the hardest, most frustrating Silent Realm challenge. All for a jewel to put in a bird statue to open the final dungeon. Why couldn't the dungeon open up right after playing the Song of the Hero? The Silent Realm challenge degrades the song in a way. It'd be like if you play the greatest song in the world, then follow it up by doing an escort mission, or a mandatory driving section, or some other cliche. Even the finale drags. Inside Skykeep, you collect the Triforce. They fully heal you too, I do like that detail. With all 3 pieces, Link wishes for Demise to meet his namesake. Okay, Floating Rock, time for you to go back home.
Oh, sugar honey iced tea.
Oh, he's been crushed like a bug! Damn, Link, you're sick! Well, Demise is dead, and Zelda is finally free from suspended animation. It's such a cute moment. These 2 are together again. Groose is hugging the sage. Girahim's here. Link and Groose via the Girahim! Yeah, we're not done yet. Girahim abducts Zelda and aims to use her power to revive Demise in the past. Girahim's much angrier and less patient now. I like this bit where Groose tries to defend the sage from Girahim, someone he's noticeably afraid of, but he does so anyway. Give this guy a medal. In the past Heal Grounds, Girahim prepares for the ritual. He He summons an army of bokoblins to keep Link from interrupting the ritual. Enter the dragged-out horde battle. It's more tedious than epic. Link reaches Girahim, and he is not his usual cheery self. I realize a simple child like you knows nothing of magic, but spells like this take time and a steady hand! Can't you wait quietly like a good boy? This is it. Girahim unhinged. His skin is fully armored, and his scalp is pointy like thighs. He reveals his true self, a weapon without mercy. The fight itself is fun with the right balance of challenge, but what really sells this is the feud between Link and Girahim. Girahim was conceited and toyed with this puny human who he thought would never match him in skill, but later recognized Link as a legitimate threat to his plan. For Link, saving Zelda has always been his goal. Knowing that this self-proclaimed Lord of Demons is after her had him riled up. Link hates Girahim. Zelda's life is on the line, and this duel is personal. Despite all of Girahim's boasting, Link prevails. Or has he? The ritual has resumed the whole time, making the fight pointless, as good as it was. The Imprisoned Demise breaks free and consumes Zelda's soul to regain his original form. The Demon King Demise extracts his sword out of Girahim. Much to the latter's pleasure, Girahim's essence is poured into the sword, just like Fi in the Master Sword. Nintendo games have been doing this trend a lot in the 2010s, where the antagonist copies the hero's latest shtick. Cat Bowser, Starwolf Hunters, Haltman's Mech. Girahim's the opposite of Fi. He's fun and emotional, while she's boring and wooden. Demise scoffs at the human Link and expresses disgust at the mortal Zelda before throwing her aside. But then... Don't worry, Link! Groose has got this! Yeah, Groose to the rescue! He catches Zelda and tells Link that he has time before Demise completely consumes Zelda's soul, giving him a short window. Now's a good time to say something about Demise that's been on my mind for a while. He is the worst Zelda villain. Sure, he looks scary and powerful, but what makes a villain outstanding is what they do, and Demise doesn't do anything. He's done plenty before the events of the story, but during it, he accomplishes nothing. He pops out of the seal as the imprisoned 3 times and goes back in a minute after. I don't care how many times he evolves. Zelda talked about him, calls him the biggest, baddest demon ever, but just talking about someone isn't good build-up in my opinion. This is a Final Fantasy cliche. This bad guy you've encountered several times isn't the main villain, this flashy new guy is. Girahim was doing all the work. He got the most emotion out of Link. That's why he's the better villain. If you want to build up to a villain we don't see until the ending, let them do something behind the scenes. In Breath of the Wild, Calamity Ganon hacked all the Guardians and Divine Beasts, driving Hyrule into despair. We've only seen a shred of his power. That made him terrifying. How about this? When Demise, as the imprisoned, breaks out of the seal, he spits globs of darkness out of his mouth and it corrupts the dragons, so Link would have to purify them to earn the lyrics to the Song of the Hero. This would give Demise more credit and not make the final act such a slog to go through. 2 other things that ruined Demise. 1. Since this is in the past, he has no memory of fighting Link as the imprisoned.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are.
And 2, they used the same song for Batro's intro. He is your main villain, and you give him this song in his debut? So, what does Demise do when he regains his original form? Blacken the skies and rain meteors? Destroy Skyloft? No, he walks into another dimension and patiently waits for Link to fight him when he's ready. Why did Demise go in this dimension? He doesn't have anything to do in it, he just stands there. Wasn't he gonna subjugate the world and take the Triforce? I guess that can wait. Wow, Demise sucks. He may look like Oni Akuma with a sword, but he's not a good antagonist. Link and Demise have their surprisingly bare-bones clash. The fight itself isn't bad, but it could have been better. This is the only primary 3D game aside from Majora's Mask where Zelda doesn't participate in the final battle. Yeah, no light arrows or holy stun beam this time. She sits out of it entirely due to her soul being sucked out. You're all gonna hate me for this, but Skyward Sword Zelda is my least favorite of the 3D games. I was willing to call her the best Zelda in the beginning, but after that, she's nowhere near as involved as I'd like her to be. She says some exposition, and then she's reduced to a can of spinach for Demise. I would have loved to see these two cooperating against the big bad. These kids who came a long way after the wing ceremony. That would have been fantastic! Oh well. Anyway, Link defeats Demise and the Demon King vows that his hatred will live on in a mortal body, Ganondorf. Ganondorf is revealed to be the reincarnation of Demise's hatred. I never liked that. What I love about Ganondorf was that he was a man with horrifyingly bottomless determination who abused the power granted to him by one of the three main goddesses to dominate the world. This power-hungry human comes back in one form or another. Turns out, he's literally part demon. This is one of many examples where a popular character is made to be unnecessarily super remarkable since birth. Didn't Wind Waker give us some relatable reason why he wanted to dominate the world? He didn't have to be a reincarnation of a demon. Back in the present, Link thrusts the Master Sword into the pedestal, bidding farewell to Fi, who for the first time acts like a friend. Fi, you had what, 30 hours to do that and you waited until the last minute. Link and Zelda choose to stay in the surface and start their new lives, ending the story. I gotta be honest, I didn't enjoy this 2021 playthrough that much. The story does deserve some credit. This has one of my favorite versions of Link in the games, Zelda's lovable, Groose and Girahim were entertaining, this take on Impa was stellar and should get more recognition. If I had to guess what the theme is, it's the power of humans. A human proved to be mightier and more triumphant than the strongest of demons. A goddess reincarnated herself as a human to do what the gods never could. A human built a machine to combat the imprisoned monster. A demon king ultimately chose to switch to the human side since his pure form wasn't enough. The theme is uplifting and I'm glad I caught it this time. But there's so much that's wrong with this story. It has the worst partner, a disappointing villain, and the most vexatious pacing in the franchise. This is my least favorite of the primary pentology and without a doubt the worst paced. It's like the tea in the final season of Samurai Jack.
This tea has all the necessary ingredients, but it lacks the most important one: balance.
All the pieces were there. This could have been amazing. I think that it was so caught up in being the grandest Zelda game ever, that's why the pacing took a hit. It had to be long. I don't hate Skyward Sword's story. I wanted to love it. I have fond memories of it back in 2011, and there are still parts that get to me. It had a brilliant start, if only the rest of the game kept me hooked. The game has a following, and these versions of Link and Zelda are adored by many. That's always good. Overall, my feelings are mixed. I learned from the flaws of the story, and I still enjoy the stuff I love. That's Skyward Sword for me. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, hit that bell icon, and feel free to comment what you think about Skyward Sword's story. Till next time!